Hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm back on the channel now. Seem to be some kind of a glitch in the internet connection here, but I'm back live and I will be joining in with Neil very soon on this channel. So by the time I send him the request and we join back in, let me tell you something about him. So Neil De Silva is one of the very famous Indian writers for the genre horror. And when you look at horror genre, there are not many authors in India who are writing horror right now. But Neil is one of those writers who has been named one of the top 7 writers to be read. And he is going to join us pretty soon right now. Here, I have just sent him the more than 12 books, and some of his books are even getting turned into screen adaptations and movies. And here he is. Hi, Neil. How are you?
Hi, Mansi. Good to see you. I'm good.
Good
How
to
are
see
you?
you. Thank you so much. I'm really good. There was small glitch, I think, in the starting, but now it's all good.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
just telling
Glitches,
people,
glitches keep happening when a horror writer is there on screen.
oh my God, because there are so many ghosts around you. Is that
Yeah,
it?
so there is something paranormal going on, at your end.
Right. I think so because I have never faced this before in my life.
I told you so. And be ready for more.
Yeah. Right. I think everyone is joining in and people are getting ready to hear about your stories. I was telling our audience that you have written 12 books. I think you have written more than 12 now. And many of those books are coming very soon on the screen. I am excited to see the web series, the movies that are coming out based on your novels and stories.
So, yes, you're right. I have 12 published books, and three of them are full length novels, and some of them are short story collections. I've also written non fiction, quite the whole gamut of things. So, I write
Yes.
supernatural, I write paranormal, and a lot of stuff within the horror genre. And yes, I have three screen adaptations right now on my books, or on three of my books, I should say. And one of them
Yes.
definitely is happening.
Congratulations.
Thanks. One of them with Haunted. The book is titled Haunted. That has been picked up by Juggernaut Productions, which is a kind of a concern of the Intent Network, the same network that runs Epic Channel.
Yes.
They are the same people, and
Yes.
they are probably making a web series out of it. So we are pretty excited. Yes, a lot of things happening. Yeah.
So, when I talk about Haunted, I know that I'm starting with your book right off, but Haunted is really exciting for me because it is not just any simple horror book or novel. It is non-fiction and based on
Yeah.
true events. You went and did something with Jay Alani, and
Correct.
this was based on true stories. So I cannot expect. I think I don't know how excited it would be for everyone to see something real in India on TV.
Yeah, yeah. And Haunted is this book. See, this is the title for audience here. I've just kept the book ready because I
Yes,
anticipated a question on Haunted. So, the way
yes,
Haunted happened is I connected with this paranormal investigator, Jay Alani, my literary agency, the Book Bakers. They put us in touch. And then I found
yes.
out who this Jay guy was. He's an amazing guy. He's this person who goes to all these haunted locations in India. He has gone to all these places, Kuldara, Bhangad, you name whatever, and he has gone there.
Yeah.
And he goes there, he spends an entire night amid those snakes and
Oh,
wolves
yeah.
and whatnot. It's not just the paranormal things, it's not just the ghosts, it's also those animals and creatures, because these places are all isolated, desolate kind of places. So he has
Yes.
done all that stuff, and he has found out whether there are ghosts are there or not, whether there is haunting there or not. And then we got in touch. He told me the stories of what all happened, and I found it's quite a smashing content, to make a book out of
Right.
it. So we spoke about it, and then Penguin came on board. Penguin is our publisher for Haunted,
Yeah.
and that's how the book happened. And you will not believe this, Mansi. The book, as soon as it was released on Halloween last year, 31st October. Okay,
Okay.
and we released it in Delhi at Oxford Bookstore. Penguin did such a great job for us there. And you will not believe this, that the moment the book was released, immediately a few days later, I think just 2 days later, it was on number one on Amazon, on in the horror category.
I can imagine
And
because we don't see many
and then
people coming up and writing.
yes, so this happened with us. So I've seen that, and then very shortly, Story Inc. came on board. They are a screen agency. So just one day, I get this message out of the blue that a producer is interested in this. So would you be interested in talking to them about it? So this was at 9 o'clock in the morning on a particular Monday, I suppose. I got the message from him, and I said yes, okay, why not? So at noon the same day, within 3 hours, he tells me yes, they are on board, and this is the offer letter. So this might
That's
be
amazing.
probably the quickest pitched book to go for a web series adaptation. So we signed the deal, and here we are. And 1 year down the line,
Yes.
Haunted is still ruling the charts. So
Yes,
pretty
Neil.
excited
And
about it. Yeah.
so, Neil, when you talk about all your books, like fiction and non-fiction, your non-fiction is based on real experiences, and fiction is not based just on some kind of a story which is contemporary, but you have also written Yakshini, which is a mixture of mythology and horror. So, you
Yeah.
have actually written a lot of sub-genres in one big genre, which is really exciting. So, how did you get about? First of all, I want to ask you, how did you come on the journey on writing horror stories? Because people would usually begin with, say, romance or thrillers or crime thrillers, but you chose horror. So why?
I see. There's no specific answer to this because it is the way a person grows and what kind of reading I did as a child. Also, all the influences that I gathered along the way. So, as a child, I used to be more attracted towards books like Dracula and Frankenstein. Even as a child, when I was just 13,
Okay.
I did not like to read, those kind of children's novels, as you say. But I was more interested in this kind of stuff. Then my dad used to subtitle movies. He used to work for the Ramses, also with along with many other producers. So he used to translate the movies into from Hindi to English, and we always had these Ramsey movies ka books all around the house. So probably that was one more place, where I was interested in that. Uh, he also had clients as Yash Chopra and all these people, but I was more connected to the Ramsey stories. And then as I
Right.
grew up, that horror ka keeda you say, that kept bugging me. It was just there, and I did not know what to do with it. Finally, in
Yes.
2015, when I decided to write that, okay, I have to write my own novel, and the story that I thought of, inadvertently, it turned out to be a horror story. It was not a plan. So at that time, I did not know how the publishing industry works in India. I did not know what kind of stories sell. I knew that, okay, Chetan Bhagat is great, Dujay Datta is great. These people are doing a lot of business. I knew about Amish. I knew all Ashwin Sanghi, everybody I knew, but I did not really think like, anybody will even read my book. To be very honest, when I read my first book, I wrote it only for myself. And it was this story that I just wrote, and that was Maya's new husband. And the book did
Yes.
when I just I did not even have I had zero expectations from the story. So I just put it on Amazon Kindle Publishing. I did not even hire an agent. I did not even talk to publishers. And somehow, magic happened, and the book again hit number one everywhere, and people were sharing it, people were quote tweeting it, etc. And that was how Maya became a phenomenon. And then there was this brand kind of thing that, okay, Neil De Silva writes horror. And then I
Yeah.
felt that, okay, yes, this is the genre that excites me the most. So that is how
Yeah.
I landed up in horror. I will not say I'm an accidental horror writer. It was a big plan, but I never sat down and gave it a thought, like, what genre do I need to write? I never did that because romance is
Right.
definitely a no-no for me. I cannot write romance. I will end up killing one of the guys and having them haunt the other. Political thrillers require a lot of research and stuff like that, and I'm
Yeah.
not so politically leaning, so I don't see that. I like mythology, I like fantasy, I like human relationships, and all these things I weave within horror. So horror gives me this space. I can put
Yeah.
all these genres into it because you just mentioned Yakshini. Now,
Yeah.
Yakshini is a horror story, but you know that it has a lot of mythology in it, it has a lot of fantasy in it, and it is basically about human relationships. So I put everything into one package, and my publishers then decide that, okay, horror will be a good title for it because I got a
Right.
name for it. So that is the way it works.
So I think the magic happened because there were so many spirits around you, and not just that. I became one of your fans after listening to you talk in TOI Bangalore Fest last year. So I think that was
Yes.
the time when you had just released Haunted, and I was so excited to see that someone in India is writing horror. And from then
Thank you
on, I
very
have been
much.
following, really. And from that point onwards, I have been following you and seeing all those books that you have. Not just that, but the Wattpad stories that you have written. I
Yes.
love those. And yeah, I mean, Yakshini is something really interesting because I just saw one movie named Bulbul come out.
Yeah.
It's such a hit because people actually want to consume this genre, and they're not able to. They're not getting that content. But
Let,
reading your
huh.
stories give me that content.
Let me tell you why Bulbul was a hit, or for that matter, even why Yakshini did
Yeah,
it worked well with readers. See,
yeah,
we know that we Indians are basically story-oriented people. We love
yeah,
stories, right from our youngest days. Dada Dadi ki kahani and all that. We grow up listening to stories, and not just that, we are very good storytellers also. If I tell you, if you have to tell a story to your young niece or nephew or something like that, on the spur of the moment, you will come up with a story. I'm sure of it. So that
yeah.
storytelling is there in us. We all have that. But somehow the problem is that when horror films are made, generally, or
Yes.
when horror books are written, people do not focus on story as much. They rather focus on the jump scares, the cheek and the chillana and the andhera and all that. So that is
Yeah.
where we Indians find a disconnect, because our horror producers, they directly lift ideas from the West, and in the West, horror is more about treatment than story. We all know that. There is one small core thought, and it is more about those chills and jump scares. And
Yeah.
people in girls running around, screaming, all that. That all comes from Western cinema. That is not our Indian mentality. We Indians, we require a story. And why
Yeah.
Bulbul worked? Why Yakshini worked? Because these are basically strongly feminist tales. Now, Yakshini is a story of a girl who grows in this male dominated patriarchal society, and she is the
Right.
object of the male gaze, the lust, whatever you say. But she's not taking it lying down, because the thing is, she has a spirit living inside her, and that spirit is that of a Yakshini. And whenever a man tries to take advantage of her, it is this Yakshini who comes out and takes revenge against the man. So that kind
Oh,
of
okay.
entire theme, that it is somewhat of our Durga Ma ka theme, if you think about it, uh, vindicating evil. So that kind of thing is what made Yakshini work. So it is the basic
Right.
point is we need a story. Indians need a story. You don't give them a story, then you package it however you want, it's not going to work. Whether it's horror
And
or
I think
comedy or
India now needs a good story as well because people have access to Netflix and so many other
yeah,
resources. They know what good content is. You can't
right.
just work with chills and screams right now.
Yeah. So when I also speak to people at Netflix and Amazon, because I'm in talks for a few things there,
Okay.
not just Netflix and Amazon, but producers in general, I would say, when the
Right.
creative think tank sits. So the first focus is that we Indians need stories. So everybody is stuck on that. That the content is what is missing, and that is why now what is happening is even the TV industry, even the web series industry. Earlier they used to write stories originally for screen, but today something reverse is happening. Today these people, the producers and all, they are picking authors' books and they are adapting
Yes.
those books into series and all. So that way it is
Right.
working better, because I believe that we authors can write much better stories than a screenwriter can do. Because we
Correct.
write entire novels, and our novels have a beginning, middle, and end. It's a full package. Whereas if you catch any untrained person, a screenwriter, then they will write a good concept, but they may not have an end in mind. So
Yeah.
this is changing. So yeah, everybody needs content now, and I'm very happy that content is king after such a long time in India, and so not just horror. I'm talking about across genres.
Correct. So, of course, people are leaning more towards content and more towards good stories. What is your journey when you write a novel? Do you know the ending or you don't know the ending? Do you just let it grow? How do you work? Your creative journey.
It basically depends from story to story. Now, with Yakshini, for that instant, to give the example of Yakshini, I did not really know what is going to be Meenakshi's journey at the end of the story. I knew that
Okay.
okay, Meenakshi is this small town girl and etc. All that was clear, but I did not know how I will end it. So Yakshini was a story that just flowed out of me. It was a
Okay.
1 lakh word manuscript when I wrote it first, and I wrote it within 30 days, within a month. And within that month, the story just flowed out of me. Like, I just had to write it. And it is the story of this girl, taking revenge against society, etc. And what happens to her in return. So I just kept on writing and it came. But when I wrote Maya's New Husband, at that time, Maya's New Husband is the story of a woman married to a serial killer. So in that
Okay.
story, I had the ending in mind, that what is going to happen to Bhaskar Sadachari. I knew very well that where he's going to land up. So Mansi, it depends from story to story what I'm trying to say. The reason is, the difference is, Maya was a plot driven story because there was a plot to it and there was a proper ending, a climax, as you say. But Yakshini is a character's journey. It's a character driven story. So when it's a
Right.
character driven story, I let the character tell the story. I take a back seat and I let the characters just go and create the story on their own. So that is how.
So I
It's a
think
little bit, yeah,
a lot of a lot of authors have different kind of journeys that they follow. Some would like to plan out every chapter.
yeah.
Sometimes you just let them grow. So I think it depends on the story as well.
It also
And
depends from book to
yeah,
book. You know, like the
okay,
same author might have different strategies for different books. Like for me,
right.
for different books, I do not follow the same pattern. Some books I will sit down and plot, some I won't, some I will just let go.
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, because you've written so many stories and novel, it's really interesting to know that it's depending on the book as well as the story of how you take it forward.
Yeah.
So you have been named as one of the top 7 authors to be read in horror genre
Thank you.
by the UK Desi Blitz magazine. So congratulations for that. Now I want to know what should a person do who is writing a horror to be able to achieve that kind of a platform or a pedestal.
Okay, I have been asked this question, several times. Like, how do you get into newspapers and magazines and stuff like that, and how people interview you? Now,
Yeah.
Mansi, how did you interview me? I mean, you just came to know me
Uh,
from my work, and you saw my work, you saw my books, or what you heard me at the Lit Fest in Bangalore, and then you connected with me. Now,
right.
when I say this, I'm very clear about it and very true that people approach me. I have never
Yeah.
in my entire
No,
journey,
no, no.
I've
My
written to
actually,
somebody.
what I wanted to understand was that because you have done so much work, you know, you
Yeah,
are a name in this industry now. So, how hard was it to become what you are today? Is my question
it
because you
it
have
was.
had a full-time job as well.
Yeah, and it is still hard. I will not say that it's gone because, see, I write horror, and horror is a genre which is considered to be a growing genre in India. It has not yet
Yes.
reached its full potential. The audience is huge because I see my books, being read and all. So people do love reading horror, but the thing
Yes.
is that because horror is such a niche genre even today, you know there is a struggle to get it to the readers. How will we get it to the readers? That is the problem. And then there is this kind of other struggle, that horror is not considered to be a mainstream genre. There is this
Right.
tendency, and some of our films and all, they have mixed horror with erotica and then given horror a bad name. That is also there. There's a taboo
Yes. Yes.
connected with horror. So we are fighting against all these things. So
Right.
I hope that people, through means of your wonderful channel and stuff like that, people understand that horror is also a genre. It is also a literary genre. It is, because some of the world's classics are in horror. We just
Yes.
saw Haunting of the Hill House, on Netflix,
Yes.
and
Yes.
Haunting of Bly Manor. So how
Yes.
well written they were, and such beautiful stories. So we in India want that kind of horror. I would say that horror has
Yeah.
come to some extent in India when we have those kinds of stories here. So that has
Yeah.
to happen. So the thing is, we have to come out of this bhoot pishach ka thing that we think horror is,
Exactly.
or the
Thank you for
safed
saying
sari
that,
mein
Neil.
ki chudail, because horror is not that. Those are the gimmicks that we employ in horror. But what horror really is facing your fears. What are you afraid
Yes.
of? So that is the psychology of it. And the day that we tap this psychology of horror, I am sure that horror will also be counted as one of the respectable genres of India. So
Exactly. Thank you
that
so
needs
much,
to happen.
Neil, for telling us that because people have just stereotyped horror right now. And
Yes.
once people like you have started coming up, and there are movies that are coming up now, thanks to
Yeah.
Netflix and so many other things, now we have realized that this is a literary genre. and there are so many things that could be done. So I think that is how people should come up with good content.
Right.
And something that really that is a big curiosity of mine. I will just say that, did you also face some kind of a paranormal experience, especially while writing Haunted, or your latest book, The Spirits Talk to Me?
Yeah. So, I am not a very brave kind of person. I will say that I'm a bit cold myself. So, when I grew up, I had this big fear of the darkness, and I was always scared of what is in the other room. Those kind of things was always there. So, I grew up with a lot of fears, and I had a lot of scary feelings, throughout, because the colony that we grew up in, that colony, I'm talking about as a child, it was believed to be, built on a cemetery or something like that.
Oh
So
wow.
there we had lots of
Okay.
experiences. Like one night, I thought that I saw. I'm not sure. A woman just walking on the terrace from one end to the other, because I could see the terrace on the other end, and she was just walking, and she was walking on the ledge. So that was so scary. And then, the next morning we heard that a woman just came out of the blue and she slapped the watchman, and the watchman fell unconscious. So I had,
Okay.
and putting two and two together, you see the woman and the next morning you hear something like that. So that really spooked me out, that what was that? And nobody knew who that woman was, the terrace was locked, stuff like that. Then I had
Yep.
more experiences growing up. So I had an experience where I saw my grandfather once, a few years after
Okay.
his death, and he came at a point in my life when I was struggling with something, and I did not know how to go about it. I was get buying a flat, an apartment, a house for myself, and the loan was not moving ahead. So when that was happening, I was just sitting in the bank, all sullen, like, today also there will be a rejection, something like that. I had gone for the 25th time or something. Everything was. So at that time, I saw in the bank my grandfather's image walking in. And it did not register that it's him, because I never had a good connection, strong connection with my grandfather, I say. But he came and he sat across me. And then finally I looked at him. At that time, he just smiled, and, he made an expression like, Sab theek hoga, kind of thing. And then
Oh.
at that very moment, the bank manager called me, and I went in, and magically he's just telling me that your loan is approved. So that is it.
Right. So
And when
he's like your
I came out,
guardian.
yeah, the man, my that person he has vanished. So, there is no explanation to such things when that happened. When I write my stories, like just a few days ago, I was writing a story. So I was writing in my room. This is my room where I write, but this is not the table where I write. I write on another table. So I was just writing, and I was in the middle of the story. I was writing the climax. I was totally engrossed. When I write a story, I'm like crazy, means crazier than how I look now. So completely engrossed in it, and I will just, shut out everybody from the room, something like that. So I was writing, and when I'm writing, I suddenly feel somebody gliding past me. So,
Oh wow. Okay.
I had that very strong feeling that somebody did go past me. And when I turned back, there was nothing. But, there was a book, and its pages were ruffled, like moving. So something did
Wow.
happen. And I got so freaked out, Mansi, I just shut down my computer and I went to sleep. It was past midnight, by the way. So, such things happen to me when I write stories. And it's terribly spooky, because I write horror, but still I love
Yeah.
the thrill. So, when I write
So
my
hats
books,
off to you that you can write horror alone.
yes,
That's
alone,
not something everyone can do.
when I write my books, when some stories I have to outline or something, I do not do that at home. Now the pandemic is going on, but otherwise, I just book a hotel room, and for like 15 days or something, I book it, and I go sit there, and alone I stay there and write my stories. So that is
Yeah.
how I do it. I completely get into the
That's
environment.
crazy. That's crazy. So, Neil, I think nothing has scared me a lot. But after reading one of your stories in Wattpad, I cannot recall the title, but it's a grandmother, I think. Grandmother
Oh yes,
suitcase, right?
yes,
So
books and
after
grandma's
reading
suitcase.
that story, I was freaked out because something has happened to me in my childhood as well, where I believe I heard my grandmother's voice, and
Okay.
she died when I was just 2.5 years old, and she was just beside me. So I was really freaked out after reading that story. To
No,
be
I
very
believe
honest.
our elders, they protect us. They are around us,
Yeah.
and they are watching us, and they, some of them, sometimes they do come and help us out, because I have
Yeah.
had these experiences.
Oh, yes, I can totally, I think, agree with you on that. So, a lot of paranormal experiences, and I think you have researched a lot with Sarabjit Mohanty, if I'm right, taking the correct name.
Yes,
And
yes.
then we have Jay Alani, of course. You have seen so many things. Is there any particular event that you might want to tell people? Because I can see some questions like, can
Yeah,
you please share any? Okay, before this, there was a question. Someone is
there
asking if
there were
something has
lots of
happened to you while,
questions coming
yeah,
in.
asking the book. Yeah. Yeah. If you can tell us if there's anything else like a special event that you want to share with the audience today.
Yeah. So I'll tell you two of these things. So one was with Jayalani when I was writing Haunted, again the cover, because
Yeah.
we authors have to self promo, right? So Haunted, and I was writing Haunted with him. After the book was written and all that, Jay and I had to go to Shimla. This was for the Shimla International Literature Festival. Jay and I went, and while coming back, we decided to drive back to Delhi from Shimla.
Right.
So we were in the car, and we took a stop at a place known as Badog. There's this
Okay.
in Shimla. It's the longest tunnel in India, train tunnel. The Shimla toy train. It is a station that comes on that, the Badog tunnel. So this Badog
Yeah.
tunnel, yeah, it is believed to be haunted. It is believed that there was a captain there, a British captain, who was given the task of building the tunnel, and he could not build it. He was the engineer of it, so he killed himself inside the tunnel itself. So when he killed himself, it is afterwards an Indian built it and completed it. But the captain's booth is still believed to be in the tunnel. So Jay and I, we walked into the tunnel to an extent,
Oh,
and we did
okay.
this in broad daylight. But when it is a tunnel, it's completely dark. So we went there, and it was freaky, right? And Jay had gone there before also. And Jay tells me when he had gone there before, a dog followed him. And the dog came out of nowhere, in the middle of the tunnel. Where will a dog come from, right? So a dog followed him, and the dog somehow led him out of the tunnel. Like, don't stay
Oh,
here.
okay.
So he got that vibe.
Okay.
So he came out of the tunnel. So this was, and
Okay.
when Jay went, it was the middle of the night at about 3 p.m. 3, yeah, a.m. So that was the
Okay.
time that. So
That's
this is one
that's when
incident that,
every clock stops in Conjuring.
yeah, that's the witching hour. And now I had another very interesting incident with Sarvajit Mohanty. This is the book I've written with him. The spirits talk to
Right.
me.
So I think, Neil, just 1 second. This is a question by Himani. She was asking the same question. Can we expect another book like Haunted? So, Himani, here is your answer. Neil is showing you the book.
Yeah, so Spirits Talk to Me is with another paranormal investigator. This is Sarbajit Mohanty, and he's also one of India's leading paranormal investigators. He's the youngest demonologist in the whole world. So he studies demons and he has this experience. So I'll tell you how it happened with the spirits. So I believe that when I co-author books with anybody, there is a connection made, a mental connection kind of thing. So how it happened is Sarbajit told me the stories on audio. He sent me those audio clips. I heard the audio, and then I write the stories. That is the practice. So when I hear the audio, I shut the lights, I sit alone in the room, and I completely immerse myself in the environment and listen to the ghost stories. So I after the first story was done, I wrote that, and I wrote the story, and I sent it to Sarbajit for checking. So when Sarvajit checked it, he was flabbergasted. The reason is because I had mentioned details in the story which he had not told me. Like
Okay.
I told the model of the car that they had driven in, the color of it, and this is now spooky. Saibajit had just said that the man was killed. There was a particular man in the story who gets killed 30 years ago. But I went and wrote it. I don't know how it happened. I wrote it that the man was killed by his whoever that person is, chopped to pieces, and his body was buried in the ground. So Sarbajit was freaked out because that is exactly how it had happened. But he had not told me that this is how it had happened. So I don't know how
Wow.
those words just came out of me. But and I could actually see that visual, and that's why. So that is an like OMG moment, like how do these things happen? There is no explanation to it, but I think there is a mental connection when you start doing such things, these creative things. So these are two incidents that I'll never forget. Very spooky.
Right. And this gets me to one point, Neil, where you say horror is not just simply a genre where you just read for chills and kind of like for time pass. This is much deeper. It is
Yeah,
something more deeper for a human as such.
yeah.
It's not just thrills and chills. So can you share your thought on that?
The first thing is something that I already said, is that horror is about facing your fears. It is anything that scares you. If you keep on getting scared of it, it will control you throughout your life. Like uh, maybe darkness. Now, most of us are scared of darkness as a child. Okay, when we grow up, that fear goes away because then we
Yeah,
slowly explore the darkness. There comes a point in
yeah,
our lives when we try to go in that dark room and see what is going on, and then we see अभी इधर तो
yes.
कुछ नहीं है, and then we are okay with it. But then there were so many fears in our mind that still exist, like probably fear of heights, fear of getting cut, fear of surgery, whatever. So these fears, so long and so they stay in your life, they will control you. So horror is something that helps you see this fear face to face, and it
Right.
tells you that you can tackle it. Now, I told you I was very timid as a child, but then when I started writing these books, and I go all out, I describe the scene in the whatever way it's necessary. If gory, then gory. If with ghosts and all, then I put everything that is needed. And when I do that, I am challenging my own fears. And
Right.
the
So
whole
it's all
point of
about challenging
going
your
to a hotel
fears.
room and writing alone in a different city, that too,
Yeah.
it's all about that. It's about facing your fear, and I'm becoming braver, and I've become very brave now. Rarely do things scare me. It's like that. So when I see horror movies, nothing happens to me because I have overcome that fear. Now I enjoy them, now I see them, now I analyze them, and I see that they are beautiful. So that is the
Yeah.
kind of thing I'm talking about.
So that's great to know, Neil. I think I'm approaching towards my last question now. I want to know if you could dress up for a Halloween costume party. What character would you select?
Yes. Okay, so here I'll first tell you something, that Halloween is also my
Okay.
birthday. I was born on the
Oh
31st of
wow,
October,
guys, we
midnight.
should all wish him a happy birthday,
So I'm a
advanced.
yeah, please do on Halloween. So it is like you are meant to write horror probably. And now coming to your question, so I have always celebrated Halloween, not as Halloween but as my birthday. Something or the other has always happened. So last year Halloween was celebrated as the launch party of Haunted at Oxford Bookstore in Delhi. So there was something there also. And this year also we have a session with Gurgaon moms on Halloween day. So
Yeah,
this is how it happens now in India. The Halloween culture is not, so we do not have these parties, and we do not have people dressing up and
yeah,
going to places. But if suppose given a chance, and if I am to dress up as, I would definitely dress up as one of my characters and go. Why to choose a character that somebody else has
okay.
made? I'll promote my own character and dress up as one and go. Maybe
Yeah, that would
the
be great.
Pishach or
I
Bhaskar
think dressing
Sadacharya
up
or
as
somebody like that.
Yakshini would be good.
Yes.
Okay. I would select Yakshini. I mean, I would definitely do that because I'm really fascinated by the
Yeah.
cover also, the blue and the half
And
human and the half Yakshini.
yes. Have you seen the people cosplaying Yakshini on Instagram? So a lot of readers, they have
Okay,
actually
yeah.
dressed up as Yakshini and posted their pics on Instagram in this form. And that's so lovely, no? I mean, for an
That
author,
is
what does an author need more than that? That kind of love and appreciation that people have given to the book. Thank you so much,
right.
whoever is listening.
Yeah, and just I think one last question from Himani again. She's
Yeah.
asking you, how do you choose your characters? Yeah, that's what she's asking. How do you choose your characters for your stories?
It has to hit me very hard, and I need the character to be socially relevant because I see like that. It has to be relatable to me. So I cannot write about a character who I don't know about, I don't relate to. So when I wrote Yakshini also, Meenakshi's character was, it came out of all those very sad, tragic rape cases that we have in India, going on for such a long time, starting from the Nirbhaya case. So,
Yeah,
those things really stayed in my head, and I was thinking, like, what if that woman has some power in her to fight back? And if she does fight back, then how will society look at her? Because we talk about Nirbhaya, and then sometimes, you think that women are so vulnerable. So my mind thought that what if women were not vulnerable? What if the Shakti in women actually came out physically and they vanquished those men who are trying to torment her. If that happens, will society look at the woman in the same way then? Because it happens, no? They brand the woman as a witch. That happens. So that is what Yakshini is
Yeah.
all about. So like that it came, and
Yeah.
so I take my characters from real life things. So for Maya's new husband, Maya is married to a serial killer. So this
Yeah.
actually happened when I attended a wedding, and the grain of the idea was born there. So I saw this. It was an arranged marriage, and the couple looked very happy because it was their wedding day. But this thought came in my mind, like, how much do they know about each other? What do they know? They
Oh,
must have
yeah.
met hardly 5, 6 times. What if the guy
Yeah.
has a secret? What if the girl has a secret and they don't know? And what if it's a very brutal secret? Then I
Yeah.
went to Goa after that, and in Goa also I saw that honeymooning couples, on hands, love marriage. But
Yeah.
even there, that same thought came to me, how much they know about each other. Even if you have been in an affair with a person for 5 years and then you get married, even in those
Yeah.
5 years, what can you know about the person? So, this is
Yeah.
how my characters come.
So I
It's
think
from
that
real.
is once you talk about that like that, Neil, there's so much online dating going on. People come to know each
Yeah,
other from Jeevan Sathi and so many marital dot coms. It's so
yeah.
scary just to think about it that you don't know the person that you're going to marry or be with for your whole life, and even if you're there for a few years together, I mean, what kind of a life it would be. So I think it's not just a simple horror story, but it's actually a deeper sense of fear
that
that
is
is
what
coming
i'm
out.
that is what I'm telling about. See, this horror
Yeah.
has to come from a real life. And believe me, most people won't say this, but I find marriage is very scary. My marriage is, I'm a very happily married person, but aren't marriages scary? I mean, you are just
Yeah.
committing to a lifetime with somebody you hardly know. And how do you live with that person? What do you know about the person? Every day is a discovery. And then it's like a lottery, even if it is a love marriage or whatever it is, it's like a lottery. You finally do not know whether you will gel with that person or not, and how it will go.
Right.
So see, now this is the
Right.
real life horror that I'm talking about. This is what Maya's new husband was. There was no
Yeah.
chudel there, pyasi bhutni, nothing. It was this horror, which is a very real life horror. We all have that fear. And now I can
Yeah.
see, the people here also who are listening to us, they have gone a little silent because they are digesting this fact that yes, marriages are scary. And when that thought comes to you, as an author, I want to capture it in a story. So this is the
Yeah.
horror that I
Got it.
work with, the real life horror.
And I think that's what works the best with people, because something it's there that something they can relate with. That's, I think, one of the best things. Reminds me of many Asian and Japanese and
Yeah.
Chinese horror stories, which I have always loved as a person. I mean, starting from childhood, I think I've been into horror. My first horror movies was practically Jaws. And
Yes.
it was kind of a horror for me. And yeah, I mean, starting from that point onwards, I have been into horror. But something that really scares me even today is when it comes to a personal or a deeper secret like The Shining, or
Yes.
let's say Maya's new husband is really sounding scary to me, and I should be getting right up to it, and Yakshini as well.
Sure.
So,
Please do.
guys, yeah, this has been a real great session with you, Neil, today, and people are just coming and joining again and again. There's so many new people here, and I'm pretty sure they're excited. Guys, if there's any question you want to ask me, let me know for a minute. So, I'm just going to engage Neil for one more minute
Yeah.
because there's so many new people. So,
And
Neil,
I
I
and
just
I'm very
wanted to,
humbled,
yeah, yeah.
I'm very humbled to have this kind of audience, people who are listening to us and people who are asking us questions, because it.
Oh, wow. I
Okay.
am really pleased to know that. I hope you get asked more questions directly as well, because I'm going to be putting your handle later on in the IGTV section where everyone can see this whole video from the start again. So, Neil, just to engage you for one more minute, I wanted to know uh, if what is your favorite horror stories. Of course, your stories are going to be your favorite, but if there's any other author or kind of a regional or cultural thing that you like, probably like I like Japanese horror. So, is there anything that you would recommend to people?
Yeah. I will name the grandmaster of horror, who is Edgar Allan Poe. So I am heavily influenced by
Oh,
the writing
okay.
of Poe, and his
Yeah.
stories like the Telltale Heart, the Puss and the Pendulum. They will send a shiver down your spine. So this guy, Edgar Allan Poe,
Okay.
own history. He was considered to be an eccentric. He had alcoholic issues. He had everything,
Yeah.
and he died in penury. He died, without making
Mm-hmm.
any money out of his books. But his stories are
Okay.
immortal, and even today, after so many
Yeah.
years, people read them and people get those chills because those stories are
Yeah.
again about people, not about monsters and supernatural, and they are very psychologically embedded. And when you write psychological horror, that is timeless because our human emotions and feelings, they work
Yeah.
in the same format, whether it doesn't matter how many years have passed. So
Yeah.
please, if you have not checked out Edgar Allan Poe, do check out Edgar Allan Poe's works. Most of it is available online for free, and I was heavily influenced by the gothic worlds that he created. India,
Right.
horror is very rare. There were no writers in India. But I would say that in India, Ruskin Bond stories are very atmospheric, and
Oh
we all love
yes.
reading Ruskin Bond. Yes, and I
Yes.
love reading stories that are set in the hills. So he fits all the bills. And locally
Yeah.
speaking, there is this author known as Narayan Dharap, a Marathi author,
Okay.
and he also writes very good stories, but his stories are very flavored from Stephen King stories. Some of them are just
Okay.
random. So Narayan Dharap's story was adapted in the movie Tumbad, which came out few
Okay.
years ago.
Okay. Right. Right.
Yeah, so
That
he's
was a
also
good one.
big. He was a very famous Marathi author for horror and a pretty big name.
Right.
So I won't call Narayan Dharap as an influence, but I enjoy reading him. My influence is
Right.
one and only Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe is definitely great, and I think Grimm's fairy tales were also something that I used to love. Tim Burton movies and all I used to watch a lot, and I think even today they
Yes.
are evergreen. So I think we have so many things to watch and read in the literary sense, but seeing one Indian author up that platform is amazing for me.
Yeah. And I just saw Hari Kumar has joined us. Hello, Hari Kumar. He's also
Yes,
an
hi
awesome
Hari.
horror writer. In fact, you should have him for your next talk. And this is the
He
Halloween
is
season going on. I also
actually
saw, yes,
coming.
Ajinkya Basme also joined us. So Ajinkya Basme also. You can keep these people in mind for your future talks.
Oh, definitely. I am a horror freak. I love horror, so I'm going to get all of them before Halloween, I guess.
Yes, yes, please do. And on the 30th, I am running a.
Yeah. Neil, I think we lost your voice. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, because
We
I
lost
was
your
getting a
voice.
call. I was getting a call. So, okay, I cancelled it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, on the
that's
30th, we
tricky.
have this Lit Fest known as Fright Venture. So, you can just follow me on Facebook or somewhere, and the links are everywhere. So, all of us horror authors, Hari Kumar, Ajinkya, Kiran Mandral, and a lot of us, Faraz Kazi, we are all in that fest. So, do join us, and we'll have a lot of fun there. That's going to be just a horror night. 30th October, book your date. Check me out on Facebook or Instagram. I'll be posting here. Yeah.
Right. So I will be posting that as well, Neil, because I'm going to be joining it. You know,
Thank
I
you
have
so much.
already blocked my calendar because we're going to have
Please,
all of you
please.
together, including Hari. You, everyone is going to be there. So I'm excited to attend that. And today,
Absolutely.
unfortunately, we have to end this call right now. But I hope you are going to be back very soon on the chat again with me.
Thank you so much, Mansi. Thank you for everyone who took the time out and heard us. Thank you. Have a nice day. Have a scary good time.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I hope you all had a great time. We'll be seeing Neil very soon again. And thank you, Neil, for coming and taking out time for this show. Thank you so much. Bye.